We don't become who we are in one moment. We are built block by block, by what breaks us, by what heals us, by what the world gives and what it takes away. Like a fragile tower, personality is not born, it's constructed. Each childhood wound is a crack, each betrayal a weight, each act of love a scaffold. To understand someone, truly understand them, we can't just look at what they did. We have to ask, what shaped their choices? What made them need love or fear silence or crave the gaze of strangers? This is why timelines matter, because every decision is not just an act, but a consequence. And when it comes to Princess Diana, the world remembers the headlines, the wedding, the interviews, the crash. But if you only see the milestones, you miss the architecture. Diana wasn't a myth. She was a mosaic of pain, grace, rebellion, and empathy, laid down one block at a time. So let's start at the ground floor and rise. This is Context Timeline, Episode 6, Princess Diana. 1961, England, post-war and post-fairy tale. Britain was rebuilding its soul. The monarchy was a polished facade, projecting stability in a time of quiet social unrest. Behind palace walls and aristocratic estates, emotions were dressed in silence. Diana Frances Spencer was born on July 1, 1961, not into royalty, but into nobility stained with grief. She was the third daughter in a family desperate for a male heir. Her parents had already lost a son in infancy, John, and Diana's birth brought no comfort. Her father wanted a boy. Her mother was blamed. The disappointment seeped into the walls of their home. By the age of 6, she watched her parents' marriage collapse in cold silence. The divorce was public, bitter, and humiliating. Her mother left. Her father won custody. Diana learned quickly. Love could vanish, and abandonment often came quietly without a fight. These early emotional wounds planted a deep insecurity, an inner voice whispering that she was not enough, not the right gender, not wanted. She began building her personality like a fragile castle, dependent on being noticed, terrified of being left. When her father remarried, Diana loathed her stepmother, whom she nicknamed Acid Rain. She rebelled, she threw tantrums, but deep inside she wasn't angry, she was terrified of being replaced. Her emotional life became a battlefield of proving her worth. 1970s, England's boarding school culture. In the elite boarding schools of the English upper class, emotions were weaknesses. Stiff uniforms, cold dorms, scheduled lives. Diana was shipped to Riddlesworth Hall and later to West Heath Girls' School. She was shy, sensitive, unexceptional on paper. She failed her O-levels twice, yet never stopped trying, not for ambition but for approval. She was not book smart but had a magnetic emotional intelligence. She could sense loneliness in others because she carried so much of her own. Her desire to help others was not just kindness, it was a coping mechanism, a subconscious way to fill the vacuum of being unchosen. At school, she became the listener, the quiet one, the girl others cried to but never noticed for long. Her classmates described her as sweet but always waiting to be needed. This planted the seeds of a personality built around validation from others. As a teenager, she developed a hunger to care for others. She studied childcare and became a part-time nanny in London. She cleaned, she cooked, she played with children. For once, she was surrounded by innocence and control. This phase wasn't glamorous, but it mattered. It was her first taste of purpose. Being needed gave her identity. It was the first time she had control over love and loss by being the caretaker. 1980, the monarchy in decay. The British royal family, though admired, was losing cultural power. Charles, the Prince of Wales, was approaching 30, unmarried under pressure, and he was in love with someone forbidden, Camilla Parker Bowles. Then came Diana, 19 years old, soft-spoken, virginal, and aristocratic. To the palace, she was perfect. To Charles, she was convenient. Their courtship was awkward. Diana later recalled crying the night Charles proposed. She barely knew him. He told reporters he loved her, whatever love means. But Diana needed to believe it. She needed to be chosen, and now she was. This felt like the fairy tale she had longed for, until the cracks showed. In public, the world saw a fairy tale. In private, Diana began disappearing again, this time under the weight of expectation. The engagement triggered her bulimia. Charles mocked her figure. The pressure to be perfect, graceful, thin, it eroded her. She was once again trying to fit an image to earn love, just as she did with her parents. But this time it was televised. On the wedding day, July 29, 1981, watched by 750 million people, Diana walked down the aisle in a 25-foot dress. But her eyes weren't joyful. She had discovered, just before the ceremony, a bracelet Charles had custom-made for Camilla. The fantasy was cracking. Once again, she was being abandoned for someone else. Early 1980s, the princess in a gilded cage. Kensington Palace was not a home, it was a stage. Diana lived under scrutiny, watched by staff, groomed for appearances. She cried alone, she fainted, she threw herself downstairs while pregnant, desperate for Charles to see her pain. But he remained cold, distant. Diana later said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage. Camilla's presence was constant, her calls, her voice, her scent in Charles' car." Diana spiraled inward, the bulimia worsened, her self-worth shrank. She was not just suffering, she was regressing emotionally to that lonely girl in the nursery, watching love vanish. But something new stirred, an instinct. If the palace wouldn't protect her, the people might. The old need to be seen and loved began to find a new outlet, the public. Mid-1980s, the rise of the people's princess. Diana discovered her power, public love. She visited AIDS patients when the disease was feared. She hugged children with leprosy. She shook hands with burn victims, and the cameras followed. Each act wasn't just kindness, it was rebellion. A woman starved for emotional connection was now mothering the world. She was creating her own family, of the suffering, the unseen, the outcast. In healing others, she began healing herself. Her fashion became a language, every dress, every neckline a signal. See me, hear me, I exist. Charles hated it, the palace whispered she was unstable, but the public saw something else, humanity, vulnerability, realness. Diana was becoming what the monarchy never could be, emotionally accessible, and for the first time, the world saw her not as a victim, but as a figure of power. 1992, the year everything broke. Leaked tapes, scandals, affairs. Andrew Morton's biography shattered the fairy tale. Diana had secretly cooperated. She told the world about her bulimia, her suicide attempts, her loveless marriage. The palace was stunned. Charles was exposed. She wasn't just crying for help anymore. She was speaking. She was reclaiming the narrative that had always been written about her. 1992 was dubbed the Annus Horribilis by the Queen. Fires ravaged Windsor Castle. Marriages fell apart. The monarchy seemed brittle. And Diana, she wore the pain like armor. She now understood. Silence was complicity. She was no longer waiting to be saved. She was saving herself. 1994-1996, Diana uncrowned, unchained. Charles admitted to adultery on television. The next night, Diana stepped out in the revenge dress, black, off-the-shoulder, radiant. It wasn't just fashion, it was warfare. It was her saying, "I'm still here." She embraced causes the monarchy avoided: landmines, mental health, poverty. She aligned with common people, not crowned ones. She said more with her actions than palace press ever could. She divorced Charles in 1996. No title, no HRH, but finally her own name. For the first time, she stood not as a princess, but as a person. Yet freedom was costly. The paparazzi chased her, hounded her. She cried in hotel rooms, fled from flashes, searched for love in the arms of men who couldn't protect her. Still, she kept moving. Still, she kept feeling. August 1997, the world in shock. In Paris, on August 31, 1997, Diana was killed in a car crash while being pursued by photographers. The news was a collective scream, a light extinguished in full view. She was only 36, but had lived and suffered enough for 3 lifetimes. Her funeral was watched by 2.5 billion people. Her brother said she needed no royal title to continue to generate her particular brand of magic. And the monarchy, it had to bend, it lowered the flag, it acknowledged her soul. Diana's story was never about royalty. It was about emotional starvation, about a girl who turned loneliness into empathy, abandonment into rebellion, and despair into connection. She wasn't flawless, but she was real. Every hospital visit, every landmine she stepped over, every tear shed under mascara was her way of rewriting the rules. Her life reminds us, when the world refuses to see you, you can still light a path for others.
The algorithm is pushing us into a rat race, but with wisdom, we seek an escape. Here at House of Wisdom, we delve into topics that challenge conventional narratives. That's why our channel is dedicated to uncovering the true context of history, piecing together fragments to reveal a more accurate and inclusive story. Understanding history is crucial. It shapes our identity, informs our decisions, and helps us learn from past mistakes. By uncovering the true stories of our ancestors, we can better appreciate the diverse tapestry of human experience and build a more informed and empathetic world. Our goal is to bring you well-researched and engaging content that sheds light on the true stories. But we can't do it alone. We need your support. Please subscribe, like, and share. While most of our timeline is trying to brain drain, let's focus on brain gain.